Every year, Americans spend about $4 billion fighting mold. They pay for mold removal services, air purifiers, chemical sprays, dehumidifiers, bathroom fans, new drywall, and new paint. But when spring comes back, the same black dots often return. They appear in the corner of the bathroom. They creep along the basement wall. They hide behind the washer under the sink or near a cold window, where warm indoor air keeps meeting damp surfaces. That is the frustrating part. Most homeowners do not feel like they are solving the problem. They feel like they are renting a temporary truce. Then, an old rural claim appears. In parts of Ohio and Pennsylvania, some people say certain Amish-style wooden homes have stood for generations with far fewer mold problems than modern houses. Not because they used a $1,000 machine, not because they sprayed the walls every month, not because they sealed the house inside a plastic bubble. The claim is much stranger than that. They say the secret was a small bare copper wire grounded into the earth, costing about $11. That sounds too simple to trust. And maybe it is. So we are not going to treat it like magic. We are going to treat it like building science. Today, we are going back to an overlooked scientific idea from 1897 to ask a serious question. Was this just a farmer's myth passed down because old houses already breathe better? Or did early builders understand something about moisture, static charge, copper, and spores that modern construction quietly pushed aside? And if a passive copper ground can reduce the conditions that help mold, settle, and grow, then the bigger question becomes even more uncomfortable. Why did modern building culture stop talking about it? Most people misunderstand how mold begins. They picture invisible spores floating randomly through the room, landing wherever they happen to fall. That is only part of the story. Mold spores are tiny biological particles, and like dust, pollen, and smoke, they can interact with moisture, airflow, and surface charge. That matters because a house is not electrically neutral in the simple way most people imagine. Every wall is a surface. Every corner is a collection point. Every damp material becomes more attractive to airborne particles. When indoor humidity rises above 50%, drywall framing, lumber paint films, and dust layers can hold moisture on their surfaces. That thin film of moisture changes everything. It makes particles stick more easily. It slows evaporation. It creates the kind of quiet, damp landing zone mold needs before it can begin to grow. This is why mold usually shows up in corners, behind furniture, near cold windows, under sinks, and along basement walls. Those places are not chosen by accident. They are low airflow zones. They are moisture zones. They are particle traps. The old copper wire claim becomes interesting only when you stop thinking of copper as a poison and start thinking of it as a path. Copper is conductive. A bare copper wire connected to Earth can act like a passive grounding route. In theory, that route may help reduce small surface charge differences that allow dust and spores to collect more aggressively on damp building materials. That is the key. The copper wire is not walking through the house and destroying mold. It is not replacing ventilation. It is not replacing leak repair. It is not a medical device. Its possible value is much quieter. It may reduce one of the conditions that helps airborne particles settle where moisture is already waiting. Older building notes from the late 19th century sometimes described metal, grounding, mineral contact, and timber behavior in language that sounds strange today. The idea often attached to this tradition is sometimes called galvanic displacement. In plain English, it means a conductive material can become a route for tiny electrical differences to move away from a surface and into the ground. Think of it like removing the static cling from a shirt. The shirt is still a shirt. The room still has dust. But the particles no longer cling with the same stubborn pull. That is the more honest way to understand the claim. Copper does not kill all mold forever. What it may do under the right conditions is weaken the invisible landing pad. And mold needs a landing pad before it becomes a colony. So why would something this simple disappear from modern building culture? The more realistic answer is that the construction industry changed, and old passive tricks stopped fitting the new system. Older rural homes were built differently. Many used dense, slow-grown timber, thicker boards, lime-based materials, larger air gaps, and looser wall assemblies. Those houses were not always comfortable by modern standards, but they often dried out better. Air moved through them. Moisture had more ways to escape. Wood that came from old-growth forests was also denser and richer in natural resins than much of the fast-grown lumber used later. Some builders believed that this kind of timber behaved differently around moisture minerals and small electrical effects. That does not prove the copper wire theory by itself, but it helps explain why an old technique might seem stronger in an old house than in a modern sealed box. Then the building economy changed. After the mid-20th century, American housing became faster, cheaper, and more standardized. Builders moved toward kaolin-dried lumber, plywood-engineered panels, synthetic vapor barriers, gypsum drywall, foam insulation, and tighter mechanical systems. Those materials made mass housing possible. They also changed the way walls handle moisture. A modern wall is often less like a breathing wooden shell and more like a layered sandwich. If water gets inside and cannot dry out, the problem hides until it becomes expensive. This was not necessarily a law written to erase copper grounding from history. It was more like industrial selection. Techniques that could not be standardized, packaged, inspected quickly, or sold as a repeat product slowly disappeared from the mainstream. A low-cost copper ground, even if it helps under certain conditions, does not create a profitable service cycle. It does not need replacement filters. It does not create monthly chemical treatments. It does not sell a new machine every few years. Modern construction favors systems that are easy to specify, easy to insure, easy to sell, and easy to repeat across thousands of houses. Passive folk building methods rarely survive that process. Not because every old method is better. Many are not. But because the industry rewards convenience, speed, liability control, and recurring products more than quiet, one-time, low-margin solutions. So the real story is not a dark room where powerful people band a copper wire. The real story is colder than that. A building culture built for speed gradually forgot a building habit built for patience. Now comes the practical question. If this is only a passive ground, what would a careful DIY version look like? The first rule is simple. Do not open the electrical panel. Do not attach anything to live wiring. Do not modify the home's structural framing. This concept is not an electrical upgrade. It is a passive building experiment placed outside the dangerous parts of the house. A basic version would use bare copper wire, often around 10 gauge, a copper clamp, and a short grounding rod placed in soil according to local rules. In a real home, that last phrase matters. Soil moisture code requirements, utilities, and buried lines are different from place to place. A homeowner should check local building rules and call the utility marking service before driving anything into the ground. The old rural variation adds something more interesting: charred oak bark or hardwood charcoal packed near the copper path. This is where the idea becomes more like a biological collection zone than a magic shield. Charcoal has a porous structure. Activated carbon is used in filters because its surface area can trap odor molecules and small particles. Charred oak is not the same as a certified air filter, but as a concept it makes sense. The copper creates a passive conductive path. The charred material creates a rough, porous surface where dust, moisture, and organic particles may collect. That is the honest version of the biological cleanup field. It is not pulling mold out of the air like a machine. It is creating a low-cost, passive zone that may help reduce the conditions mold likes most still air-damp surfaces, trapped particles, and neglected corners. Its real value is not in fighting a broken pipe, a leaking roof, or water pushing through a foundation. Those problems need repair first. Its real value appears in the quieter mold zones of a home: seasonal humidity, basement dampness, bathroom steam, cold corners, weak airflow, and surfaces that stay slightly damp after the weather changes. That is the kind of problem old passive building methods were designed to handle. Not disaster, not flooding, not structural failure. Just the slow pressure of moisture that keeps returning. In that environment, a grounded copper path may work like a passive defensive layer. It does not replace ventilation, cleaning, sunlight, or dehumidification, but it may reduce one more condition that helps spores settle and grow. And sometimes a healthy house is not protected by one expensive machine. It is protected by several quiet layers working together. Sometimes the most advanced solutions are not waiting in the future. They are buried in dusty agricultural notes from the 19th century, written by people who had no smart sensors, no sealed plastic wall systems, and no expensive machines running in every room. The copper wire is not a miracle. The real lesson is bigger than copper. A healthy house must breathe, dry, drain, and balance itself with the climate around it. When builders forget that homeowners pay for the same problem again and again. So look at your own home. What year was it built, and which corner gives you the most mold? Trouble the bathroom, the basement, the window frame, or the laundry room? Comment below, because the age and structure of your house may reveal why the mold keeps coming back. And next we will decode another old Amish chemistry trick: why some builders used wood ash around water systems, and what that says about minerals, filtration, and modern home technology. Subscribe, because the old house still has lessons left.